Hello everyone, the December review here, back again with a TV show review today. We have Season 3 of Sweet Magnolias. Spoilers are ahead, so make sure to check out the show only on Netflix. Sweet Magnolias was created and based off the novel series by Cheryl Woods and debuted on Netflix back in 2020 with great success. The show features three friends who live in the South Carolina town of Serenity. We have Joanna Garcia Swisher as Maddie Townsend, Heather Headley as Helen Decatur, and Brooke Elliott plays Dana Sue Sullivan. Together they are our Sweet Magnolias. Back with Season 3, the show depicts life for the friends and family within this community, with a big focus on a strong support system and helping out others through compassion. But if you are new to the world of Serenity, don't fear. It's not all sunshine within this fictionalized world, as the Magnolias have faced down a laundry list of roadblocks and problematic situations that would TKO mere mortals halfway through the first season. With Season 2 ending on a cliffhanger, each member of our main cast faced down some uncertainty, as a mystery visitor to the town had some unfinished business with Dana Sue. Helen is proposed to by her on-again, off-again longtime boyfriend, and Maddie's relationship with Cal, well, it took a big hit after an altercation. Yes, all of these scenarios are addressed here in Season 3, along with a multitude of complexity for the town in this excellent and at times near-perfect third act. The show's biggest dilemma for Season 3 might not be what our Magnolias need to continue to face together, but rather the shocking decisions that may end up splitting them apart. The strongest aspect of the show from a narrative perspective is its ability to set up the difficult situations but take the time to delve deeper into its reasons than most shows do, which creates a unique viewing experience for the audience. That works again in the show's favor in Season 3. Let's take a look at the mystery visitor as a great example of storytelling. Turns out that the one making life very difficult for Dana Sue is actually her husband's sister, Kathy. And it turns out that she is deeply bitter about not getting ownership of Sullivan's, the restaurant that Dana Sue runs, and has been popping back up in Serenity from time to time to cause chaos. Here, she is not only back, but ready with a plan to take out Dana Sue for good. Well, this isn't the Terminator, so we're not going to get that level. But she has some pretty nefarious things planned here to uproot Dana Sue, and by extent, all of our Magnolias' lives. She sets up her own restaurant, woos away Dana Sue's top chef Eric, who was already in a rough shape, more on that later, and tries to become the #1 spot in town. As things get more heated between them, it culminates with the destruction of Sullivan's kitchen. We get little pieces during the season as to why this is going on. We see a clearly upset Dana Sue along the way, but we also get to understand Kathy as well. This unraveling of the character arcs makes for some very compelling television. Now, it must be said that Kathy is the show's most comic book villain yet. She is so bitter that trying to find any hope or compassion isn't the easiest thing to do here, but we just so happen to get an assist from an unlikely source. Maddie's ex-husband, Bill Townsend. Bill himself has been going through his own redemption arc in the series. As the show starts, he's clearly persona non grata after having an affair which led to his and Maddie's divorce. We then see his new relationship spiral as well, leaving Bill to try and figure out how to literally start all over again, not just for himself, but for his family that has already begun to move on from him. The ever-plotting Kathy lures Bill into her world to try and have him help in her revenge game, but it's Bill at the end of the day who manages to find a connection with her where she begins to see the error of her ways. All of this lines up into Season 3's biggest and maybe even the entire show's best moment. In the finale, Kathy shows up to Dana Sue's marriage renewal ceremony in what sure seems to be instant trouble, and becomes an emotional triumph as Kathy calls a truce between them, with Bill at her side. It's seriously one of the best endings I've seen from a show in some time. Just from an emotional element alone, for these two people to find hope after so long of making the Magnolias' lives difficult, it's storytelling at its finest. Another big aspect of the new season is the turmoil that arrives between our three main cast members. Through all of the drama that the show was throwing at its characters, the one thing we could always count on is the fact that the Magnolias were in it together. But what would happen if something fractures that bond? An upset December review, that's what happens. It makes sense to go down this road, shaking up the show's foundation a bit. We spent so much time with them pouring it out that any minor inconvenience that one of them causes another, well, it's quickly dealt with. Well, when Ryan Wingate shows back up to propose to Helen, this sends a rift into her new relationship with Eric, and after Maddie questions whether Helen is truly happy, this also divides our Magnolias. It's a pretty emotional side story here, and it sends Helen away from Serenity back to her family's home to center herself among the rocky waters that she's trying to navigate through. Thankfully, the split doesn't last too long within the season, but it didn't just happen for the sake of shock storytelling. Like everything within this universe, it's used as a lesson for our Magnolias. Specifically Maddie, whose leadership of all things Serenity is called into question. This forces her to take a look inward to try and keep in mind other perspectives, one of which is her relationship with Cal. After the fight that he got into with Sullivan's in the Season 2 final, here he lets Maddie in on his temper issues, the situation he's been trying to curtail for some time, but he is really down on himself now after this situation. There's a great scene in episode 2 that stood out to me where Eric and Trotter confront Cal over the fight. It's first played out to feel like a confrontation, but turns quickly into a group of friends looking out for each other. A piano chimes away before giving out to a string arrangement. It's a great moment of hope and help and healing within 90 seconds of screen time. It's great stuff. The whole thing causes Maddie and him to take a time out together while they figure some things out. It's not so much the end of it, but rather a pause button to gain some breathing room. It's actually a pretty good idea overall considering the circumstances, and one that maybe some other shows should take note of. I'm looking at you, Aidan Shaw. That slowdown was a bit of an overall theme for Season 3. This was a chance for most of our cast to take a step back in reflection, while also dealing with the here and now. For the first 2 seasons, it really felt like the writers were trying to pile on so many issues all at once, but here, while there is certainly plenty of conflict, the show doesn't start to buckle under all of the weight. Not that it really did so before, but there is a noticeable less amount of things on everyone's plate here. It's just regular shenanigans versus giant shenanigans all-out attack. And there's a whole host of other notable character developments and situations. Helen takes Cece into her home after her family decides to move. This ends up kickstarting an unlikely friendship between her and Annie, while also unraveling Helen's direction with Ryan. And Tyler faces down some big decisions as well, foregoing his baseball dreams and trying to find what other things could be out there for him, which after again some time away from, leads to him back onto the field. Plus there's a pretty big subplot involving Dana Sue and an inheritance, not to mention the journeys of Isaac and Noreen. Sweet Magnolias Season 3 is another triumph for the show's cast and crew. It manages to forge ahead in new and unique situations, while staying true to its core foundation of compassion and hope. It's filled with a grand musical score, not overstating its intentions, but adding to a moment's sentiment. The acting, which was already top-notch, continues to be noted for its cast's high quality of work. Can someone please give Heather Headley an award already for her role? Her performance continues to be as great as you can get on screen. For its ending this time around, we actually don't leave off with a cliffhanger, but a rather poignant moment of reflection for the entire cast. One could argue that if we never get a Season 4, this ending would be a nice bookend for the show. Hopefully that's not the case, as Serenity isn't a town that Netflix should walk away from just yet. For Season 3, Sweet Magnolias pulls out all the stops in its captivating and extremely well put together look at life, friendships, and what we all need to pour it out.